Chapter 12. Scarlet Fever and Smallpox. As defined by allopathy, scarlet fever as defined by osteopathy, smallpox, power to drive greater than in measles. As defined by allopathy, scarlet fever begins with a short period of tired feeling, a short period of chilly sensation, fullness of eyes, and sore throat. In a few hours, fever begins with a great heat of back of head. It soon extends all over the body. Sick stomach and vomiting generally accompany the disease. Rash of a red color beginning on back and extends to throat and limbs. About the second or third day, the fever is very high, from 100 degrees to 104 degrees, and generally lasts to fifth and seventh day, at which time fever begins to diminish, with itching all over the body. The skin at this time throws off all of the dead scale that had been red rash in the forepart of the disease. Often, the lining membranes of the mouth, throat, and tonsils slough and bleed. Also, pus is often formed just under the skin in front of the throat. Such cases usually die. Allopathy. Scarlet fever as defined by osteopathy is a disease generally of the early spring and late fall seasons. Generally comes with cold and damp weathers during east winds. It begins with sore throat, chilly and tired feelings, followed by headache and vomiting. In a few hours, chilly feeling leaves and fever sets in very high, burns your hands. The patient is rounded in chest, abdomen, face, and limbs by congestion of the fascia and of the lymphatic glands. This stagnation will soon begin its work of fermentation of the fluids of fascia, then you see the rash. If you do not want to see the rash and sloughing of throat with a dead patient, I would advise you to train your guns on the blood, nerves, and lymphatics of the fascia and stop the cause at once or quit. Osteopathy. Smallpox. If we give a thought to the action of the electromotor force, we would be constrained to believe that a power that could drive gas through a body of great density would be much less than one that could force lymph through the same density, the same of albumin. Power to drive greater than in measles. Thus, in smallpox and motor energy must be equal to the force that would convey albumin through all tissues. Measles would be less, and so on according to the thickness of the fluids present. Thus, you see, the power to drive dead fluids from fascia must be greater in smallpox than in cases of measles. Then, we must see why the pulse of smallpox is so powerful during development of the pox. After killing the fluids by retention in the fascia of the skin, a greater force yet is created by hurting nerves fibers of the fascia. Then the motor energy appears, and all the powers of life go to help the arteries force fluids through the skin and push to and leave them in the fascia of the skin to be eliminated as best it can. In some parts elimination fails. Such places are called pox. They suppurate and drop out, leaving a pit, the pox mark. Now, had the nerves of the skin and fascia not been irritated to contract the skin against the fascia, passing its dead fluids through the excretory ducts of the skin, we probably would have no eruption. It is not quite reasonable to conclude that after the heart overloads the fascia and the nerves lose their control by pressure of fluids, that all that is left is chemical action to the production of pus, which throws it out of fascia in intervening spaces. Then, should the fascia have greater death of its substances, we have one spot to run into others, and we have confluent smallpox.